Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel and welcome to a very drastic change in scenery here from the usual outdoor stuff we got going on. This is my kitchen and today I'm going to share with you some of my favorite homemade hiking snacks. Now these are great obviously to take on your hikes, but they're also great snacks for road trips and car camping. So they're really easy, super delicious. We'll see how many times in this video I say super delicious. But without further ado, let's jump right in. The first recipe that I have for you today are my everything trail bars. And I call them everything trail bars because you can put like everything that you have in your cabinet in them, basically. So any nuts or seeds that you have in your cabinet and dried fruits, they can all go in this bar. It's kind of like an oatmeal cookie meets trail mix. They're delicious. So we're gonna get this recipe going first because the dough needs to chill, which I know is super annoying in any recipe, but it needs to chill. So we're gonna do this one first. This recipe calls for 1 heaping cup of mixed nuts. So again, whatever you have left in the cabinet. This recipe is great for when you have just like 1 or 2 tablespoons left of something and it's like not enough for a typical recipe. You can throw it into this recipe. For today, I'm gonna use a mix of walnuts, sunflower seeds, pecans, and almonds. That's kind of my favorite combo. And you want to chop the nuts into kind of smaller pieces. So the walnuts, the pecans, and the almonds, I'm just going to give a rough chop before I put them in the bar. So I don't want to over chop them, but I don't want huge pieces. Put these into my cup and get all those little bits in there too, like the little crumbs that are left. Put sunflower seeds on here. That, I would say, is a pretty good heaping cup of mixed nuts. The next thing I want to get is all of the dried fruit. So again, just a mixture of whatever dried fruit you have on hand. I'm going to do a mix of dried cherries, raisins, and then I also have some strawberries here, dried strawberries. And I'm just gonna chop these up because these are a little bit bigger, but the raisins and the cherries are fine to use as is. One thing I forgot to mention is don't worry about writing down the recipes as you're watching because they will all be in the description box below the video. You can just click on the link and grab a printable version of it. So yeah, don't stress about writing things down. It's all in the description. You're gonna need a half a cup of dried fruit. So into your large bowl, you're gonna put all of those nuts and seeds and the dried fruit. And then we're gonna add some flour. So this is all-purpose flour. I have not tested this recipe with any other flour, but I do think an all-purpose gluten-free flour would work in this recipe. Something that is designed to be a replacement for all-purpose. I think that would work. I do not think that almond flour or coconut flour, or that kind of stuff would work. But if you need a gluten-free option, I would try just a gluten-free all-purpose flour blend. And I think that would work. If you try that, let me know in the comments below as well how it turns out. And when you're measuring flour, you always want to like spoon it into the measuring cup because flour is there's a lot of air in here, and so you don't want to like mash it down because then you're gonna actually get more flour than you need in the recipe. So I always just kind of spoon it in. This is something my grandma actually taught me when I was really little. Put it in like this and then, oh dear, need a knife. Then you take a little butter knife here, tap and swipe. That's how I was taught to do it. So half a cup all-purpose flour and then a half a cup regular old-fashioned rolled oats. 1/4 cup of shredded coconut, 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. Once all that's added to this bowl, just give it a quick mix. Now that we got the dry mixture all ready to go. I'm gonna set that aside and work on the wet mixture. First up, we need 1/4 cup of melted unsalted butter. I barely had enough in the fridge. Quickly melt this in the microwave. Wait, it's not in the kitchen. To the butter, we're gonna add 1/2 cup of dark brown sugar. I love dark brown sugar. I feel like it's so underutilized. Just gives it like a really deep, rich, kind of almost caramelly, I don't know. I love it. A packed cup this time, so just take your 1/2 cup, get it packed in there, right in the bowl. Give that a whisk. Add in a teaspoon of vanilla extract, which I can never open. Mix. This is my salt jar. I have the Redmond real salt from like right here in Salt Lake City, and it's just from the ancient salt beds, and it's such good salt. But 1/4 teaspoon of that, and then 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. Mix all that together, and then the last ingredient here is going to be your egg. Mix that egg in. So it should be nice and creamy like this. Yeah. So it's very simple. We got the wet ingredients here, the dry ingredients here. Now we combine them. Woo hoo hoo, yes. And you want to try to get all of this goodness left in the bowl here. Spatula thing. Get all of that. Now we're just going to take a spoon and give it all a mix until all the flour and everything is just incorporated into the nuts. So the dough is covered. I'm going to throw it in the fridge for a couple hours, and we will bake these later today. Next up is trail mix, because what hike or camping trip or road trip is complete without some trail mix, right? So this is my favorite one right now. It is a tropical trail mix, just transports you to beautiful sunny days. It has some dried pineapple, dried mango, macadamia nuts, whew, so good, dried papaya, coconut flakes, cashews, and yogurt covered raisins. It is so good. So the first thing that I'm gonna do here, and really the only prep that this requires, is just sort of dicing up these dried fruits into more bite-sized pieces. The pineapple that I have are these pineapple rings, so I'm just gonna probably cut these into like quarters, you know, just so that they're a little bit smaller to grab. Same with the mango. If you have a dehydrator, you can make your own dried pineapple. I do that sometimes as well. One of the great things about making your own trail mix is that you can control how much of all the ingredients that you put in. So if you really love dried mango, throw in some extra dried mango. It's also a lot cheaper typically to buy these ingredients separately and then make your own trail mixes, especially if your local grocery store has a bulk section. One of the places that I get dried fruit a lot is actually Target. They have a really, really large dried fruit section, and it's a pretty good price. So that's where I tend to look for dried fruit as well. But yeah, I just love making my own because sometimes I've found that store-bought trail mixes are mostly just peanuts, and that's probably my least favorite nut. So I like to make my own and then put exactly what I like in the trail mix. If you've watched my other hiking snack videos, you know that I really love dried mango.
The dried mangoes.
So that's it for the chopping here. Next, I'm gonna put in some diced papaya. My local grocery store has this in the bulk section, kind of near the ginger, the dried and candied ginger. And it's just little cubes of papaya, dried papaya. If you can't find this, you can substitute in banana chips. It's awesome in this trail mix as well. Or even if you find dried papaya that looks a little bit more like the mango, you can just chop it like you would the mango. So there's several options if you can't find this. Next, we have unsweetened coconut flakes, not shredded coconut because that's just hard to grab with your hands on the go, but the flakes are a lot bigger. I like to do unsweetened, but you can do like a toasted one. I know you can buy toasted coconut flakes now, and that would be really good in here. So feel free to grab what you like, but this is just what I have on hand right now. I actually think the toasted coconut flakes might be even better in this recipe. Next up, we have good old macadamia nuts. These are dry roasted and they have sea salt on them. They're crunchy and fatty and so delicious in this trail mix, but they are one of the more pricier nuts that you can buy. So if you don't want to splurge on the macadamia nuts, I totally get it. Roasted almonds would work just fine in this recipe. Do about ½ cup. 1/3 cup raw cashews. And then 1/4 cup here of yogurt covered raisins. The yogurt covered raisins will melt on very hot days, so just keep that in mind. I don't really mind, but you can also just substitute that in for normal raisins if you don't want to deal with that. But that's it. Mix it all together. Could not be any easier. I get a lot of questions about these bags that I use. This is a bumpkin bag. Nick actually got these for me for like Christmas one year or something, and I just think they're really cute with the little cacti on there. But I'm gonna just put that in here. Oh dear, oh no, oh no, oh no. And this is ready to be taken on all your adventures. I will mention really quickly some other reusable bag options that I like for hiking. These Rezip ones I also use a lot for trail mix and hiking snacks. They come in all different sizes, and I just like these because the seal is really good and they're lightweight and pretty durable, as well as these bumpkin bags. I love stasher bags as well. I've talked about them many times, but I typically use those more for car camping. Their seal is just not as reliable for something that's going to be like sloshing around in a backpack as the Rezip seals are. So that's why these are kind of the two brands that I reach for the most for these types of hiking snacks. This right here is definitely my #1 combo at the moment. You just can't beat anything with dried mango and dried pineapple and macadamia nuts. The third hiking snack I have for you today is my chewy, no-bake coconut date energy balls. These only require 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ingredients. They are so delicious, and I make these too even for like busy work weeks at home, just to have on hand in the fridge to grab for a quick snack. So they're really easy and really delicious if you love coconut as much as I do. This recipe starts off with 8 medjool, I think that's how you say it, dates that are unpitted when you buy them. So this is what they should look like here, and the pits are inside. They are a lot bigger and stickier and chewier than the ones that you would buy that are pre-pitted. And I actually have some of those here, so I'll show you what you don't want to buy and how different they actually look. So these are the medjool dates that have the pits inside. This is what you want for the recipe. And these are these are pitted medjool dates. So you can see here that there's a really big size difference, and it will affect the recipe if you use these pre-pitted ones. They're just so much drier and the recipe is not gonna come out right. This is what you want, and this is what you don't want. So step #1 is of course to take the pits out and also take off this little, I don't even know what this is here, but this little brown part. I just kind of pinch that off, as well as I'm opening up the dates, and the pit is really easy to pull out. So we're gonna put 8 of these dates right into your food processor. This does require a food processor. I have not tried this recipe with a blender. I think a blender is gonna kind of make it too mushy. So the food processor is definitely the way to go here. And then one thing that I always do is keep the pits out and count to make sure that I've actually taken all of them out, because this would like break a tooth if someone accidentally bit this. So I just like to make sure, like double check that I've really gotten them all out. One of the things my dad, I remember him like teaching me when I was really little is like never trust an olive. And I always think about that when I'm like pitting stuff like this. I think he broke a tooth on an olive pit once. And so that was like one of his life lessons that he imparted to me, is never trust an olive. Okay, so all of the dates are in the food processor. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pits. Toss these. Now we're going to process the dates, and I use the pulse button here and just kind of pulse it until the dates break down into smaller bits. It will kind of get a sticky ball almost once they are done. There you go. So it kind of forms this sticky ball here that I'm actually gonna go in and sort of break up again. All right. And now we're just gonna add in the rest of the ingredients right to the food processor. We have some oats, just regular old-fashioned rolled oats, 1 cup, half a cup of unsweetened shredded coconut, 2 tablespoons maple syrup, which I actually keep in the freezer. Maple syrup, I did not know this until a few weeks ago, that maple syrup needs to be kept in the refrigerator or in the freezer. I have always, my entire life, kept it in a cabinet, and then recently I went to use it and I was pouring it out and like just weird clumps were coming out of the maple syrup, and it was like mold basically. And I had no idea. So now I actually keep it in the freezer and it still pours like normal. I guess it's a little bit thicker than if it was in the fridge, but it's still pourable. So I just keep it right in the freezer. I have also tested this recipe with honey, and that works as well. I actually came up with this recipe by accident. I was trying to make a granola bar, and I must have tested it like 6 or 7 times, and I just could not get it right. And during one of those testings, I wrote in my notes, note to self, this was a really good like energy ball consistency. So after I just gave up on the granola bar, I was looking through my notes and I was like, let me try to make this into an energy ball. And it was perfect. So that's actually how I came about this recipe. It's good stuff. I do about 1/8 of a teaspoon of sea salt. And then the last ingredient is just 1 tablespoon of coconut oil at room temperature, because as we process this, the whole mix is gonna heat up a little bit and the coconut oil is gonna melt anyway. So I just do room temp. Now, it's nice and easy. You're just going to pulse it for a little bit and kind of get everything incorporated and the oats broken down. The key here is you do not want to over process it, because then it's just going to be a mushy mix. So you want to try to keep it so that it does have some nice texture and chewiness when you bite into it. Let's give it a pulse. I like to get in here and just kind of get any bits that are stuck on the edges around. I'm gonna process this just a little bit more, but you can see here it's starting to kind of be sticky and come together. So let's just give it a couple more seconds. I think that looks really good. So the mixture, it looks crumbly right now, right? You're probably like, how the heck does that come together? But when you hold it in your hands, form a ball, it should feel like a little bit sticky, but as you can see, it's not really sticking to my hands. So that's kind of what you want to look for at this step. The next step is just to roll them into balls. Take that blade out. I got 10 energy balls here, and these will firm up a little bit, so I like to set them in the fridge. That's actually where I store them when I'm at home, and they get a little bit firmer. And then you can just grab them and take them on all your adventures. I'm gonna clean everything up again, and then we'll check on the Everything Trail bars, see how they're doing, and get those in the oven. The dough has been chilling in the fridge for about 2 hours now. You really want to let it chill for at least 2 hours. I think honestly you could go overnight as well, it'd be just fine. I have a 9 by 9 inch pan here. We're gonna get ready to bake these bars. First step is I want to line this with parchment paper so that it's really easy to just pull them out when you're done baking. Now you really want to make sure that you use a metal pan for this, because glass transfers heat differently. So things that are baked in glass tend to cook faster and brown more. So you want to use a metal pan for this. Okay, here is my dough. As you can see, it's a lot firmer. Like this would have fallen out before. Now, you're gonna use your hands and just press the dough into the pan, getting it in all the corners. It is hot in here. Really, don't be afraid to press it in there. That is the oven. It is preheated at 350. These are gonna go in the oven. Let the baking begin. So my bars have been in there for about 17 minutes. I think they're done. They definitely smell really good. So let's see. Oh yeah. You want them to smell good, kind of like an oatmeal cookie. And there should be quite a bit of browning, like a golden brown around the edges. That's sort of what you're looking for. I did mine for 17 minutes, but I would definitely check it around 15, use your sense of smell, that kind of thing. Let's give the people what they want, a close-up of the bars. Oh yeah, that's what you want to see. Now comes the very difficult part in this recipe. You have to let them cool. So if you try to cut them right now, they're just gonna sort of fall apart. They'll still taste delicious, but you really have to let them cool completely before you cut them into bars and start moving them around. So I am going to head to the gym so that I'm not tempted to cut into these right now. And then I will meet you back here for the final Everything Trail Bar reveal. Cut. I am back from the gym, so the moment that you have been waiting for is finally here. All that's left to do is just cut them into little bars. Oh yeah. And that is all there is to it. They are ready to be eaten. I don't know if you can see, maybe you won't. Come on a little closer here. Take a look at that texture. They're so chewy and so full of like nuts and dried fruits, and they're crunchy. So good. So that is it. These are some of my favorite easy homemade hiking snacks. The Everything Trail Bars, Tropical Trail Mix, and Coconut Date Energy Bites. I hope you get a chance to make them and just really enjoy them on all your outdoor adventures. Really quick before you go, let me know in the comments which one of these you are going to try first. And make sure to like the video if you like it, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.